Okay, so let's start. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to tackle about the topic one, the introduction to warehousing, which is the general considerations and terminologies under the CMTA, section 801 to 802. Okay, so when you hear the word warehouse, you probably think of a big building full of boxes, but in customs parlance, a warehouse is much more than just a storage room. Okay, so it is a critical legal space involving a multiple stakeholders like the Bureau of Customs, the importers, and warehouse operators. So let's break down what is the real meaning of the warehouse. Okay, so what is a warehouse? So let's look at the basic definition first. So, in everyday business, a warehouse is just any physical structure, facility, or space used to store raw materials and also finished products or merchandise waiting to be moved. Okay? So, instead of looking a warehouse as just a storage facility, think of it as a logistics stop, no? Or a temporary holding zone that keeps the supply chain flowing smoothly. So in normal logistics, warehousing supports three things: the storage, consolidation, and distribution. So in storage, safekeeping goods until they are needed. No, so they are going to guard the items from theft, from damage or weather, no, until the demand spikes. For example, a smartphone brand manufactures thousands of phones in July, no, but it keeps them secure inside in an air-conditioned depot until their big pre-holiday release in November. So they're going to store their smartphone or that thousands of phone inside the warehouse, no, to make it damage free, no. So that's one of the supports of the warehousing. Okay, so next is the consolidation. This is a grouping different small shipments together efficiently. Okay, so this is a cargo pooling, meaning they are merging. It is what we call merging multiple small pieces of cargo into one large batch to cut down the transport cost. Okay, so for example, uh, a local coffee chain, they collect small coffee bean shipments from separate farmers in Benguet and in Davao and Sagada. Okay, so they are combining them into one single truckload before sending it to their main roasting hub in Manila. No, they are combining them. The supplier from Benguet, Davao, and Sagada, they're combining the goods from there and then combining it into one single truckload before sending it to their main roasting hub here in Manila. No? So that's one of the example of the consolidation. Next is the distribution. So staging goods so they can be delivered, no, to their next destination. So this is order sorting. This is what we call the order sorting. They are organizing the items strategically so they can be dispatched rapidly to the retail shops or customers. For example, a supermarket chain, they utilizes a central cross-dock facility where incoming milk crates are swiftly sorted and loaded directly onto smaller delivery vans na bound for individual neighborhood branches. So that is order sorting, no? And as to the customs, no? But in customs, things change legally. A warehouse takes on a legal dimension. No, under the watch of the Bureau of Customs, a customs warehouse is highly regulated space where the imported goods sit or store and the duties and taxes are held in suspension. Okay, so this means that the importer doesn't have to pay the government immediately upon arrival. So the taxes are on pause or naka-hold or naka-pause until the goods are released, transferred, or exported. Okay? So for example, imagine a large manufacturing plant, no, that imports expensive microchips from Taiwan para makapag-build sila ng medical equipment. If they had to pay import duties the second the cargo landed doon sa port, they would wipe out their immediate cash reserves, no? So, kung dumating na yung cargo na yon, yung microchips na yon doon sa port, no? At kailangan na nilang magbayad ng duties and taxes. So, yung pangalawang order nila, pangalawang import nila, no, mawa-wipe out na agad yung kanilang cash reserves, no? So instead, the Bureau of Customs allows them to move the microchips into an authorized customs warehouse, no? So the microchips stored there safely, tax-free, until the factory is ready to pull them out for production or ship the finished medical equipment to global buyers. Okay? So what is customs warehousing? So, what exactly is the system of customs warehousing? So, it is a legal framework that allows the imported articles to be stored under the Bureau of Customs supervision without immediate payment ng duties and taxes. But goods cannot stay there forever. They must eventually take one of three paths. So, first the is the uh, is the customs what do you call this, the withdrawn, no, or the withdrawal of the goods, no. So the goods are taken out for the local consumption because they are entering the local Philippine market. Then the importer must finally pay the correct duties and taxes. So for example, merong car dealership na nag-import ng luxury vehicles and stores them in a customs warehouse. So once a local buyer purchases a car, no, the dealership withdraws it, no? Winidraw niya yung kaniyang yung kotse na binili ng local buyer, no? And upon withdrawal, they pay, no? They pay the Bureau of Customs the required taxes and delivers it to the customer. Right? So that is the exit for the domestic sale, no? Next, re-exported. So this is the exit out of the country, no? So they are going to re-export the goods. So the goods are shipped out of the country again or otherwise disposed of under strict customs rules. Since the goods never enter the local economy or the local market, the suspended duties and taxes are waived. For example, a regional distributor imports electronics from Japan, no? So the that goods stores them temporarily in a Philippine customs warehouse. Then ships them to buyers in Vietnam. So no Philippine import taxes are paid because the goods were re-exported. No, they did not enter the local market. Lastly, process. So this happens inside the manufacturing customs bonded warehouse. So the raw materials are brought in duty free. Those are processed and manufactured into finished products and then exported to another country. For example, a garment factory. Nag-import siya ng raw fabrics from China without paying duties. And dinala niya yon straight to their customs bonded warehouse and then tinahi doon para maging t-shirts, no, and exports the finished t-shirts to the United States, no. So by utilizing the customs warehousing, the stakeholders, especially manufacturers and traders, they can manage their cash flow efficiently without hurting their businesses. Okay, so why customs cares about warehouses? Okay, so there are four reasons. First is the revenue protection. So the goods stored under bond represent the duties and taxes that have not yet been collected. Okay, so it is under the supervision. The supervision exists to prevent that revenue from leaking away. So this is one of the safeguarding national funds. Now, so the government views the unreleased imported goods as uncollected cash because the taxes have not been paid yet. Okay, so the customs agent must physically and digitally watch these facilities to ensure that the items don't sneak out into the black market without paying their share. For example, let's say we have a container full of premium foreign wines, no, na nakastore in a warehouse. So, if a dishonest operator nag-smuggle siya ng few crates out the back door para ibenta yon into local bars, so the Philippine government loses thousands of pesos in unpaid sin taxes. Okay? So, strict Bureau of Customs surveillance prevents this tax evasion. Next, trade facilitation. On the flip side, businesses benefit too. Okay? So they get cash flow relief because they can defer duty payment until their goods actually move to the market. So instead of choking companies with massive upfront cost at the pier, instead na magbayad agad sila ng duties and taxes ng pagka mag-import pa lang sila, so the customs creates a friendly business environment, no? Dine-defer niya yung kaniyang duty payment. Okay, so they let the enterprises keep their working capital active by delaying the payment deadlines until the merchandise is actually ready to generate the sales revenue. For example, a local distributor, nag-import siya ng massive shipment, no, ng air conditioners in January. No, nag-import siya ng mga maraming air conditioners ng January, but won't sell most of them until the hot summer months of March and April. So instead na madrain yung kaniyang bank account sa pagbabayad ng import taxes in January, the Bureau of Customs allows them to store the units, their the air conditioners, no, tax free, no, nakastore yung kaniyang mga air conditioners na inimport ng tax free, and paying the duties gradually only as customers buy them. So once na meron ng bibili na customers, then dun pa lang siya magbabayad ng kanyang duties and taxes. Okay, third, industry support. So the manufacturing CBWs let the exporters bring in raw materials duty free on the condition that the finished output or the finished product gets exported. So this supports our export industry directly. Okay, so this is to make the local manufacturer globally competitive. So the government eliminates import expenses on basic components on one strict condition. The final assembled goods or the finished product must leave the country, bringing foreign currency back into the Philippine economy. So, for example, there is a car manufacturing plant in Laguna na nag-import ng steel panels from South Korea. So the Bureau of Customs waives the import tariff entirely because the plant shapes those panels into completed vehicles that are shipped straight to car dealerships in Australia and New Zealand. Okay? Next, control and accountability. So every warehouse operates under bond, okay, and is subject to whatever conditions the district collector may impose. Nothing runs unsupervised. Okay, so a customs warehouse is not a free for all zone. Okay, it operates under the strict legal contracts and financial guarantees, which is the bonds, and the Bureau of Customs District Collector holds the absolute power, no, para mag-set ng operating ground rules. And operators will face severe penalties or closure if they break them, if they break the rules, no? For example, before an operator can open a customs warehouse near NAIA, they must post a multi-million peso financial bond with the Bureau of Customs. So if the operator fails to track cargo properly or violates the security protocols, then the district collector can forfeit that bond and shut down their operations. Okay? So it's really a balancing act, no? Protect the government revenue, but also make trade easier for legitimate businesses. Next, before we open the CMTA itself, no, let's lock down some vocabulary. You'll be using these terms every single session of this semester. So the CBW stands for Customs Bonded Warehouse. This is a facility authorized to store imported goods under bond with duties and taxes suspended. Okay, so think of a CBW as a secure holding zone licensed by the government, na kung saan yung mga businesses can store foreign inventory without paying import tariffs upfront. No? So the unique feature here is that the tax suspension is backed by a financial promise, right? So it is primarily used by businesses that either store goods for a long time before local sale or transform the raw materials into export bound products, into finished product. Okay, so for example, an apparel enterprise brings in a premium denim fabrics from Europe, no? So they transfer the fabrics directly into the CBW here in the Philippines. Okay? As long as the denim stays inside this CBW, no Philippine import duties are paid. Okay? So when the factory sews the denim into jeans, no? And ships them out to Japan, so the deferred tax is formally waived. Okay? Next is the CFW, stands for Customs Facility and Warehouse. So a, this is actually a broader category. It includes container yards, container freight stations, seaports or airports warehouses, in addition to the CBW. So let's say this is a transit hub or a gateway, right? So CFW is much wider. all-encompassing umbrella term. Unlike the CBW, which focuses heavily on long-term tax deferral and manufacturing, a CBW refers to the actual logistical infrastructure at the border, like ports, staging grounds, cargo terminals, where the shipping containers are loaded, unloaded, sorted, or temporarily staged immediately after arrival. For example, there is a massive concrete yards right next to the MICP, no, where giant cranes stack the containers straight off the vessels, no, or the cargo sheds at the NAIA, where air freight is sorted by logistics crews before the customs clearance. No? So those physical transshipment zones are the CFWs rather. Okay? So that is the CFW. Third one is the bond. In the context, it's a guarantee. Okay, usually a surety bond that secures payment of duties and taxes. Should be conditions of storage not be met, think of it as a government's insurance policy on the goods. So this is a financial security deposit. Okay, the bond is a surety bond, it is a guarantee, or is it is a financial security deposit. No? It is an official legal contract or monetary safeguard typically provided by an insurance company. No? It acts as the government's insurance policy. Let's say if a business breaks the warehousing rules, such as losing cargo or leaking goods into the local market illegally, so the Bureau of Customs pulls from this deposit to collect the money they are owed. Okay, so for example, before a warehouse operator is allowed to handle imported electronic goods, the Bureau of Customs requires them to secure a 3 million peso surety bond from a licensed insurance firm. So if a crate of, let's say, microchips mysteriously vanishes, no, from that facility without taxes being paid, so the Bureau of Customs calls up the insurance firm and demands the unpaid taxes straight from that bond. Okay? Next, three more terms. So District Collector, this is the Bureau of Customs official who designates, establishes, and supervises warehouses at the port level. Every port has one, and this is the officer directly responsible for the warehouses under their jurisdictions. Okay, so this, let's say, District Collector is the regional branch manager. Okay, so think of the District Collector as the localized boss or the chief executive of a specific customs house or port collection districts. While they take orders from the headquarters, they are the hands-on authority na responsible for assigning, creating, and physically monitoring the houses right there on the ground level of their assigned ports. No? So let's say, if a logistics company gustong mag-open ng new container terminal right next to the port of Cebu, so they don't talk to a desk officer in Manila first. Okay? So they must go through the Bureau of Customs Cebu District Collector. Hindi niya kailangan dito sa Manila, no? Kailangan dumaan siya doon kay Bureau of Customs Cebu District Collector who handles the local operations and sets down the localized security rules and inspect the facilities locations. Okay, next, Commissioner. Okay, so this is the head of the entire Bureau of Customs. So the commissioner approves the district collector's designation of warehouses. So there's a clear chain of authority here. Okay, so the commissioner is the supreme or the top ranking director of the entire Bureau of Customs across the Philippines. Okay, so while the district collector manages things locally at the port level, the commissioner has the final executive veto power. Okay, so no warehouse recommendation made by a port collector becomes fully legal or permanent until na officially sinign off na ito ni commissioner. Okay, for example, let's say the district collector of the MICP nag-review and nag-endorse ng brand new automotive warehousing facility. So the paperwork is forwarded to the main office at the port area, Manila. Okay? So it sits on the desk of the Commissioner of Customs, who gives the ultimate green light or final signature to officially clear the facility to operate. Okay? So siya yung pipirma nun kung kailangan magbubukas ba or papayagan ba niyang magbukas yon yung facility na yun or hindi. Okay? And next is the special economic zone. So areas like PEZA, Subic under SBMA, the Clark under CDC, which operates under their own incentive and customs frameworks. So we will dig much deeper into these zones during midterm and finals, but keep the term in mind now. Okay? So these are the special economic zone or the designated geographic pockets, no? Within the Philippines that are treated legally as foreign territory. So, kino-consider natin to as foreign territory for tax purposes. Okay? So, they operate outside the normal Bureau of Customs tax regime, possessing their own distinct corporate incentives and duty-free privileges and also the regulatory bodies to attract foreign investment. So for example, merong massive tech assembly park sa loob ng Clark, Pampanga or a manufacturing hub in Peza Zone in Laguna, no? So when foreign electronic components land at the Port of Manila, so kung yung electronic components na yun dumating sa Port of Manila, they are sealed and sent straight into these special enclaves, no? So dadalhin yon yung iyong mga inimport na yon doon sa loob ng PESA or manufacturing hub, no? As long as those components no stay within that zone or get exported back out of the country, they remain untouched by regular Bureau of Customs tariff. Okay? Customs tariff. Okay? So, hindi sila papatawan ng duties and taxes. Next, the legal backbone, which is the CMTA. So, this is where all of this actually comes from. Legally speaking, everything we've discussed traces back to the Republic Act 10863, known as the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act, or CMTA for short. So the CMTA modernizes customs and tariff administration and also protects government revenue and aims to facilitate trade while curbing fraud. Okay, so that's really the spirit of the whole law. Okay, so where does customs warehousing live inside this big law? So roughly in the chapter running from section 801 to section 813. Okay, so that chapter covers establishment and supervision. In section 801, types of CBWs, section 802, types of CFW in section 803, and then application, renewal, and operation provisions in the sections that follow. So today, we are zooming into just the first two, which is the section 801 and 802. Okay, so here is the relevant, this is the relevant uh, laws, no? This is the relevant laws pertaining to the Section 801 and 802. Okay? So this cow is a detailed operational rule book, no, issued by the Bureau of Customs. Okay? So if the CMTA, the law passed by the Congress, is the broad, no, kung ano yun yung malakihang batas, no? No, si Congress ang nagpasa ng CMTA na yun yung broad law, no? Na kung ano ba yung batas, no? And si COW naman, siya yung specific how, no? The laws state the overall objectives, but a COW contains the granular, the day-to-day administrative procedures, and also the exact document requirements and specific workflows that the stakeholders must follow on the ground. Okay? So as to the introductions in section 1, the scope. So this section defines the legal foundation and the boundaries of who must obey these specific orders. It officially links the document to the CMTA guidelines and establishes that these rules apply across the board to every single type of the CBW. Furthermore, it highlights a key hierarchical rule, no? New types of warehouses can be invented in the future, but they require a joint decision, no? Dapat merong recommendation from the Bureau uh, of Customs Commissioner and final authorization from the Secretary of Finance. And what is the relationship of this cow into the section 301, which is the customs control over goods? So section 301 gives the Bureau of Customs the legal power to watch over all goods crossing the Philippine borders. So COW 13-2019 takes that power and specifies exactly how it must be applied inside the CBWs. Right? So there are three main pillars of their relationship. First is the tax pause or preventing revenue leakage during tax pause. Okay? So under the CAL 13-2019, the goods inside a CBW have their duties and taxes suspended because the government has not collected its uh, duties in cash yet, no? So Section 301's mandate for the customs control becomes hypercritical. The Bureau of Customs uses the rules in CAL 13-2019 like locks, security guards, and mandatory CCTV feeds to enforce the Section 301 and ensures those tax suspended goods don't get smuggled into the local market. Okay? Next, shifting to high-tech monitoring, which is the automations. No? In Section 301, explicitly orders the Bureau of Customs to use the automation to the fullest extent possible. Okay. As to the CAL 13-2019, turns this command into a strict requirement para sa mga warehouse operators. To get a license, a CBW must install an automated inventory tracking system na nakalink directly kay Bureau of Customs computer system. Okay, so that is one of the uh, relationship of this 301 to the CAL 13-2019. It includes the automation. Next is the audit-based enforcement. So in section 301 states that the customs control should rely on audit-based control. No? So si CAO 13-2019 puts this into action by giving customs officers the right to enter the CBW at any time para mag-audit ng warehouse logbooks, magbilang ng physical stock, and match them against the company's import declarations. Okay? So for example, no? For example, imagine yung Section 301 is a school rule na nagsasabi na the school has the right to monitor all library books to prevent stealing. Okay, so that is the Section 301, let's say. Okay, so yung CAW 13 2019 is the specific library handbook that tells you to enforce that rule every book must have a barcode. No? Para ma-enforce yung rule na yon, kailangan lahat ng libro ay merong barcode. You must swipe your ID at the scanner and security cameras will monitor the exit gates. So that is the CAW 13 2019. So without the Section 301, the Bureau of Customs has no legal right para kontrolin yung goods. Without CAW 13 2019, the Bureau of Customs has the right but no clear instructions on how to actually guard a banded warehouse. Right? Next, the connections of the Section 303 dictates that the Bureau of Customs has exclusive control over all the warehouses used for the customs purposes. So, SICAO 13 2019 acts as the blueprint that defines how a private warehouse operator must build and maintain their facility so that the Bureau of Customs can exercise this exclusive control. So for example, si CAO 13 2019 mandates niya na si Customs Banded Warehouse dapat meron siyang dedicated office spaces para sa Bureau of Customs personnel and strict dual locking system. Okay, so this design is required precisely because Section 303 demands that the government maintains ultimate administrative direction over the premises. Okay, so let's read Section 801 closely. So when the business of the port requires it, the district collector, with the commissioner's approval, designates and establishes warehouses for use as public or private bonded warehouses, yards, or other special purposes. So let's unpack that in plain terms, no? Which is what's on the right side of your screen. First is a warehouse doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to be officially designated by government authority. You can just declare your garage as a bonded warehouse. Okay? So hindi lang siya ang warehouse ay hindi lang basta-basta sumusulpot lang kung saan-saan, no? Okay. So a customs bonded warehouse cannot just be opened anywhere and time purely for private convenience. So there must be an actual economic need or trade demand at that specific port. So let's say massive cargo congestion. So merong congestion sa Fairfax, no? So kinakailangan ba ng panibagong warehouse dahil nagkakaroon ng massive cargo congestion sa Fairfax? So, yun yung mga isa sa mga kinoconsider bago magtayo ng panibagong warehouse. Okay? So, meron bang high trade of volumes or a local industry boom na nagre-require ng tax-suspended storage for export manufacturing? So, for example, merong kung ang port sa Batangas experiences a massive surge in imported car parts, no? Maraming nag-import ng car parts sa Port of Batangas. So the shipping traffic creates a natural trade demand. Okay, so the economic need triggers the legal justification para mag-set up ng storage infrastructure. Next, second, two sign-offs are needed. So the district collector proposes it and the commissioner approves it. Neither one acts completely alone. Okay, so dapat dalawa sila. Establishing a CBW requires a strict two-step government handshake. Okay, so the local boss of the port, which is the district collector, serves as the initiator who fields applications and check the local needs. No? So, si District Collector yon. Yun yung trabaho ni District Collector. Check niya yung application, check niya kung kinakailangan ba to, no? However, that the District Collector cannot act alone. So, they must secure final official authorization from the national head of the agency, which is the Customs Commissioner. Lastly, once designated, it can serve several purposes. Okay, so once na pinayagan na-approve na ni Commissioner, no, it can serve several purposes. A public bonded warehouse, a private bonded warehouse, a yard, or another special purpose the Bureau recognizes. Okay, so once the need is established, again, the approval is granted. So the law allows that the creation of different types of storage boundaries depending on who is using them. So let's say, ang pinayagan is public bonded warehouses. So open market spaces saan yung any registered businesses pwedeng magrenta ng corner, no? Doon sa loob ng public bonded warehouse para mag-store ng imported goods ng tax-free. Okay? Next. Next is the Section 801 doesn't stop at establishment. So it also covers supervision. Okay, so all warehouses and the premises they occupy remain under the supervision of the district collector, who may impose conditions to protect two things. First is the government revenue. So the conditions make sure that duties and taxes on goods stored are properly accounted for. Okay, and eventually collected when the goods leave the warehouse. Because the goods inside a bonded warehouse are stored in a tax pos. Ibig sabihin, naka-deferred yung kanyang payment ng duties and taxes. No, yun yung status niya. Naka-pause yung pagbabayad niya ng duties and taxes. So the government is essentially letting the business delay payment. Okay, so the district collector must enforce security measures para ma-make sure niya none of those items vanish into thin air because the government gets its rightful revenue. So every single item must be mathematically tracked until the duties are formally paid. For example, merong importer stores ng 1,000 premium flat screen TVs, no? So, yung importer, nag-store siya ng 1,000 premium flat screen TVs nang hindi nagbabayad ng taxes upfront. Okay? So, this ensures si district collector might demand an official corporate guarantee bond. No? Magde-demand siya ng bond. No? So, this ensures that if 100% TV mysteriously go missing. So, let's say, merong nawawalang 100 TV, no? Ini-ensure niya na yung nawawalang 100 TV na yon ay maibabawas doon sa kanyang bond. Okay? So, the government still has a legal mechanism to automatically collect the missing import duties directly from doon sa company's financial guarantee or company's guarantee bond. Okay? Second, the goods themselves. No? So, the conditions also protects the physical integrity and security of the goods while they are inside the warehouse. This is not just about money. Okay, it is also about making sure nothing gets damaged, lost, or smuggled out. So the customs chief is not just concerned with the monetary collection. No, they are also responsible for ensuring that the items remain clean, safe, undamaged, and well guarded inside that facility. By demanding adequate infrastructure, they protect both the importer's investment and prevent illegal asset switching or tampering. So for example, merong warehouse na nag-store ng imported temperature-sensitive pharmaceuticals, no? So si district collector can impose a condition that the warehouse must maintain uninterrupted backup power generators and high-definition surveillance over the refrigeration units. No? So nire-require ni district collector na yung warehouse na yon na nag-i-import or nag-i-store ng temperature sensitive pharmaceuticals, nire-require niya na dapat yung kanyang warehouse ay merong uninterrupted backup power generator. And meron din siyang high definition surveillance, no? Na nakakover doon sa refrigeration units na yon. This is to ensure na yung mga vaccines na nakastore doon do not spoil and prevent yung unauthorized personnel from replacing expensive medication with cheap counterfeits medicines. Okay? So types of common bonded warehouse. So we move to section 802, which classifies customs bonded warehouse. This section splits CBW into two broad families based on what actually happens to the goods inside. So first family is the manufacturing CBW. So here, goods are imported duty and tax free, but only on conditions that they are processed into finished products and exported within a set period. Okay, so there's a clear obligations attached the process and export. Okay, so for example, a textile firm nag-import ng denim fabric from Japan nang hindi nagbabayad ng local duties upfront, no? So inside their secure factory warehouse, yung mga workers kinat nila and tinahi nila yung denim into premium jeans, no? So once napak na nila yung jeans ay immediately flown out the stores in Europe, no? Pinalipad na sa Europe yung mga jeans na natapos nila out of that raw materials. So because the raw fabric or the raw materials was never sold, no, doon sa local consumers, the tax exemption remains permanent. No? So lahat ng mga inimport nila na raw materials ay ginawa nilang premium jeans, tinahi nila, ginawa nilang premium jeans. Therefore, yung raw materials na yon or yung raw fabric na yon was never sold to local consumers. So, yung tax exemptions remains permanent. Okay? So, the second family is the non-manufacturing CBW. Here, goods are simply stored, no, with no manufacturing or processing requirement. So yung kanina, yung manufacturing CBW, so nag-i-store doon ng mga goods na kailangan na i-manufacture or kailangan ng further processing requirement. While here, sa non-manufacturing CBW, goods are simply stored, no, na hindi kinakailangan ng manufacturing or processing requirement. Okay, so the warehouse just holds them under bond until they are withdrawn or moved. Okay, so let's say merong distributor nag-import ng 500 high-end luxury sports car, no? But has not secured individual buyers yet. So wala pa siyang buyers, no? Para doon sa 500 luxury sports cars na 'yon. So instead of paying millions in immediate import taxes at the harbor, no? So instead na magbayad siya ng milyones ng pagka-import niya noon sa Port of Manila, in-store niya 'yon sa inside doon sa highly security facility. No? So, in-store niya yon doon sa highly secure facility. As individual buyers purchase the cars over the next few months, No, the dealer pulls the cars out one by one. Okay? Again, so kung meron ng, 'di ba naka-store na yung mga inimport niya na sports car, yung 500 na sports car na yon. So kung merong bibili na individual buyers ng paisa-isa the next month, no? Yung dealer, ipo-pull out niya yung paisa-isa na yon na kotse doon sa doon sa warehouse na yon. And then, tsaka siya magbabayad ng specific tax only para doon sa vehicle being removed. Okay? So, once na ni-remove niya yung kanyang goods doon sa loob ng warehouse, doon pa lang siya magbabayad ng tax. Okay? Next. So, let's look at the three types of the manufacturing CBW. The type 1, which is the miscellaneous CBW. So, this is the general purpose manufacturing bonded warehouse, one that does not fall neatly under the other two categories. Okay, so this is an all-purpose standalone production facility. Tailored siya to a single company, no? Na kung saan yung operations niya do not fit into rigid niche industrial classification. Okay, so for example, merong specialized enterprise na nag-invent ng line of customs carbon fiber musical instruments. So because they are the only ones manufacturing this specific product and don't belong doon sa massive industrial cluster like garments or electronics, no? They set up a separate standalone facility. Okay? So it serves as an all-in-one independent hub for their specific tax-free raw materials and production line. Okay? Next, type 2 is the Customs Common Bonded Warehouse or the CCBW. So this is a shared common facility used by a multiple member manufacturers under one bonded arrangement. So we will actually spend more time on CCBW membership later this prelim period. So file this term away. Okay? And the type 3 industry specific bonded warehouse. So this is set up specifically for a particular industry's manufacturing and export needs. For example, an industry that consistently needs the same kind of imported raw materials. Okay, so for example, merong major industrial zone na malapit sa airport is built exclusively for semiconductor assembly, no? So the warehouse is engineered with specialized clean rooms, anti-static flooring, and ultra-high security systems na designed only para sa pag-handle ng sensitive silicon wafers and microchips. Okay? So it does not handle wood or mga tela or food. Okay? It is built purely to fulfill the precision manufacturing and fast-paced export needs ng electronics industry. Okay? And for the non-manufacturing side, also three types. First is the public bonded warehouse, open to storing goods belonging to any importer. It operates like a general storage facility available to the public. Okay, so for example, a dozen small independent retail shops are importing designer winter jackets from the South Korea for an end of the year sale, no? Since none of them are large enough para mag-own ng dedicated building, they all lease, no? Umuupa sila ng separate pallets inside a massive, centrally located public bonded logistics hub, no? So each shops, nagpupul sila ng its own stock and nagbabayad sila ng corresponding taxes only when their specific retail store runs low. So kung wala nang mga stock doon sa kanilang retail store, doon lang sila magpo-pull out ng kanilang stocks and then magbabayad sila ng corresponding taxes. Next, The type 2, which is the private bonded warehouse. Okay, so this is the exclusive, no? So this facility is established and operated exclusively by a single large company, strictly for its own inventory only. Okay? It is completely closed sa public and cannot be rented out ng mga third-party importers. Okay? From the word itself, it is private. Okay? This is not open to public and cannot be rented by any third-party importers. Okay? So the operating corporations bears full legal and financial responsibility for the customs bond and handles its own large-scale distribution directly from this hub. Okay? And lastly, the type 3 other customs facility. Additionally, this is an additional facility types that the Bureau of Customs recognizes outside the public and private categories. So this is the transit gateways, no? So this category covers the specialized operational zones recognized by the Bureau of Customs na do not function like traditional storage warehouses. So instead these are temporary holding zones or staging grounds or specialized logistics hubs na designed for rapid cargo consolidation and breaking down shipments or immediate border processing. Okay, so think of the container yard or the CY or the CFS or the container freight stations right outside sa port terminal boundaries. So when a giant container ship unloads, full cargo boxes are temporarily staged here, or the LCL shipments are cracked open and sorted into smaller delivery bands. So they are not meant for long-term storage. Okay, so they are high-speed tactical transit hubs to keep international trade moving smoothly. Okay, so let's put everything side by side so it's clear for you. As to the purpose, the manufacturing CBW exists so companies can import raw materials duty-free, no, to manufacture goods for export, while for the non-manufacturing exists simply to store goods under bond with no processing required. Okay, and as to the types, the manufacturing has miscellaneous, common, or CCBW, and industry specific. For the non-manufacturing has public, private, and other customs facilities. And as to the condition, manufacturing CBW must export the finished products within the prescribed period. That's their obligations. And for the non-manufacturing CBWs, simply need to comply with the bond and storage conditions imposed. Okay? So, if you remember only one table from today's session, make it this one. It will come back on your prelim exam. Okay, so let's recap everything we've covered today in five statements. So, one, a customs warehouse is a legally designated space for storing imported goods under bond. Second, under Section 801, the district collector designates and supervises the CBWs, subject to the commissioner's approval. Third, under Section 802, CBWs are either manufacturing, which is export conditioned, or non-manufacturing, which is a plain storage. Fourth, manufacturing CBWs come in three types: miscellaneous, common, or CCBW, and industry specific. Fifth, non-manufacturing CBW also comes in three types: public, private, and other customs facilities. So that's the whole session in 5 sentences. If any of this feels shaky, now that's the time you will ask before we move to the recitation.